The Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, which advises the USDA and the Department of Health and Human Services, put together a report recently where they encourage people to eat more plant foods and fewer animal foods. So that's hopeful. Now the industry is going crazy about it. They are, a bunch of legislators have written and said that this can't go forward. But that's another very interesting one. But where I think the big change is going to happen, and I said it earlier, is ultimately with how we vote with our dollars in the market. So all this is important. Legislation is important. We will continue to work on legislation, but the marketplace is where we can be more empowered at this point. Industry is so invested, and it's a long haul to try to, we keep chipping away, and we'll keep doing that.
I just have to ask you, McDonald's is hurting now, and they've had to install a new top guy, and you'd think that maybe they'd look across the street and see that, hey, whether it's, even though Chipotle has its issues, but they have a vegan option, I've mentioned quite a few of the others, you'd think they would sort of look at that and go, maybe we're like a little 20th century, we got to move into the 21st century. What do you think is holding back, particularly like the big three?
Sometimes it's just like your machine. You're turning around a massive boat takes a lot longer than turning around a smaller boat. It's just this infrastructure, this way of doing things, and they have supply chains, and they have investments years in advance. They have a whole machine that's plotted out in a very slow, tedious, predictable way, and changing that takes time. And although Burger King sells a veggie burger, that actually started in Watkinsville. It doesn't get a lot of publicity. A lot of people don't know about it.
Is it on the menu? Because I've tried, a few times I've actually gone into one of these fast food places. I've usually had an argument, but those particular ones, I remember having this big argument with somebody. I said, it's not on the menu. How do people know to buy it?
Well, that's a very good point, and it may not be. So that's, it does need to be promoted. But with the dairy, you go into these mainstream grocery stores and you see non-dairy milks, coconut milk, almond milk, soy milk, that is being promoted. Even during June is Dairy Month promotions, they were doing promotions for non-dairy milks. So that's starting to happen. It's really ultimately about dollars. The industry just wants where the money is.
But I always go into these stores and ask. If I go to a restaurant, I always ask, and I love walking into McDonald's. Any chance I can get, if I'm walking down the street, I'll walk into Subway, Blimpie, anything. Hi, do you have anything vegan?
It makes an impact. Being activist consumers, really.
Always
it really does.
Ask in stores. Do you have anything non-leather? I ask all the time in restaurants because I think the more we ask, and I make my friends do it all the time, slowly we get change. It's terrible when your friend does.
We are social animals, humans, right? And we grow up doing certain things because everybody around us is doing them. And sometimes those are mindless, cruel things like eating animals. But as time goes and we learn that there's another way, and each of us are influencers. Each of us is an example that will rub off on others. So that's something that's a very important thing to do, is to be an example of somebody who wants to help others live well, We don't want to put anybody down. We want to bring people up. And so just giving people advice, and sometimes it's as simple as good recipes.
Absolutely, and I just have to say that of all the things that make me filled with hope, it's just mayo. Just mayo rocks, man. And so does Josh Tetrick. And getting sued by the makers of Hellmann's and then turning it into $21 million worth of publicity for just mayo. And then how many tens of millions of dollars came in from venture capital funding after that? Somewhere in the range of, don't quote me, but it's a lot of money. And so that's a very, very